Motoring 2011 on TSN is brought to you by Michelin, a better way forward.
If you want to enjoy the thrill of driving, you obviously don't go to any big city like Toronto. In fact, it's one big headache in this city when you consider that for years we've had politicians who simply don't like cars and blame them for all the woes on our planet. However, each year for a couple of weeks, Torontonians get to celebrate one of the greatest inventions of all time at the Canadian International Auto Show. This year, over 1,000 new cars and trucks are on display, over 600,000 square feet. This week we're going to visit the show, check out the sights and sounds, and discover that maybe, just maybe, an auto show is the perfect place to find the vehicle of your dreams.
Well, the show itself is owned by the TADA, the New Car Dealers of Greater Toronto. The show started in 1974 as a small regional show, but a very competent one out on Airport Road, and has since grown into, I think, a show that's now recognized internationally, certainly in North America, as one of the leading consumer events. So what we commit to in the planning of the event is what we call the total automotive experience. So it's got to be more than the 1,000 new cars and light trucks that are available in the Canadian marketplace. It's about concept cars, it's about classics, it's about special features and promotions, and all of those combined create the Canadian International Auto Show.
And tell me whether you think that that's the most important thing that they should pay attention to.
And today's media day, this is probably the busiest day in the auto industry in Canada. The Canadian International Auto Show garners more media attention, gets more promotion than all other auto shows in Canada combined.
We hope you can see that we're driving this company forward in a new direction.
What you have the ability to do is to display the best of what you have in your product for the consumer that you're trying to sell to. For General Motors, this is a critical market, one of our biggest around the world. And this show gives us the ability to invite consumers in on their own terms so that they can see the best of the best in the marketplace.
As you know, Motoring selected the Kia Sportage as our overall top vehicle of 2011. And as you've seen on this program, each year the Automobile Journalists Association of Canada holds an annual test fest, and earlier today they announced their top vehicles for 2011.
We had the Canadian Car of the Year overall winner, and we had the Canadian Utility Vehicle overall winner. Car category was Chevy Cruze, and Ford Edge got the utility vehicle. It's huge for GM, and as the President said this morning when he accepted it, you know, a year ago, look where they were, and here they are picking up an award for the best new car in Canada. I think it says a lot for the company.
Every year we rip apart the show at the conclusion, and we figure out exactly what our consumers liked, what they didn't like, and then we rebuild the next year's show. So no two shows are ever the same. We've attracted more than 300,000 people over the 10 days of the event. So when you consider our drawing area, you know, you would say that probably 5% of the total population comes to the auto show, which is a pretty significant number.
Smells good to me. More later on Kenzie's Corner.
It used to be that Cadillac couldn't build a car worth a lick if it started with the letter C. You've only got to think about the Cimarron or the Catera. Well, that all changed in 2001 with the introduction of the CTS. On this edition of Test Drive, the CTS-V Coupe. Any strikingly good-looking car needs the right sort of power. What separates the V Coupe from a mortal ride is its 6.2-litre supercharged V8 engine. This thing puts a stampeding 556 horsepower at the driver's right boot. To say it's enough is an understatement. However, what really transforms the drive is the torque. There's 551 pound-feet available at a low 3,800 RPM. The enormity of the torque plateau means that at just about any speed and in almost any gear, the CTS-V just picks up his exaggerated side sills and rockets forth. It takes all of 4.4 seconds to warp the riders from rest to 100k. That is good. But it's the mid-range and the 80 to 120 km/h passing test that puts it up there with the world's elite sports cars. At 3.3 seconds, it is supremely fast. When you slip behind the wheel of the CTS-V, it really does change your perception of Cadillac. This thing is world class all the way. It starts with these leather and suede Recaro seats. They really do keep you planted when you play, and it finishes off with top class materials, and I love this French stitching. The rest of it, well, you get everything from a backup camera to a navigation system to a loud and proud audio system. As a package, it comes together, as I say, in a world class fashion. The power is relayed to the rear wheels through a 6-speed manual transmission that arrives with a remarkably civilized clutch. The ratios and the ease of shifting make it a perfect companion for the engine. To prevent the massive torque from melting the P285/35ZR19 rear tyres, it's advisable to short shift out of first and into second before really nailing the gas. Once into second, the V pulls all the way to redline without missing a beat. Grab third and the urgency just does not let up. It's also time to short shift once again, at least if you want to keep your license. It is simply divine. The coupe really is a 2+2. Whilst there is some leg room, there's very little headroom, and getting back here is a real pain in the neck. This place has to be viewed as a place for your briefcase or your mother-in-law. Drop the anchor and the oversized Brembo brakes scrub off speed very quickly. Even after several full-on back-to-back stops, the CTS-V came to rest in just 37.3 meters, which is again top class. So far, life is good. However, where the CTS-V coupe really surprised me was the manner in which it handles. The stiff chassis, wide track, and GM's sophisticated magnetic ride control sports suspension allows the CTS-V to carve a corner with the best of them. The setup banishes body roll and brings a sharp response to steering input without feeling stiff in the least. In fact, the CTS-V handled everything thrown at it, including the usual pylon test, without so much as flinching from the driver's intended line. The CTS-V arrives with a top-notch electronic stability control system that does include a competition mode. The system is best left to act as a Jiminy Cricket, warning the driver that they are flirting with the limits of adhesion and about to lose it. It used to be that Cadillacs were aimed at the older one-foot-in-the-grave type of buyer. That all changed with the introduction of the CTS. The second generation, it moves them even further towards the younger set. It's got world-class handling, world-class power, and a world-class interior. That is a very good sign for Cadillac, and it will appeal, as I say, to the young, or in my case, the young at heart.
It's not unusual to see night classes in session at Centennial College in Scarborough, Ontario. This class deals with auto mechanics, but these students already have their mechanic's license. So why are they here after spending a full day at their workplace? Well, these guys see a light at the end of the proverbial tunnel, and those lights belong to a hybrid vehicle.
Still electric. Yeah, of course it's going to fool me.
Started like the late 60s, end of the 60s, became a licensed mechanic in 79, and technology is changing all the time, so you got to get in on what's happening, and hybrids is what's going to happen. If you don't work for a GM dealer, Ford dealer, or one of the manufacturers, you have to do all the learning and paperwork yourself. If you work for those people, they send you to school to follow up on all the technology. So it's constant. You never stop reading up on stuff to keep up with it.
We now have a high voltage battery in there, anywhere up to 600 volts. The primary thing is safety. That's the #1 importance, because you're dealing now with systems that can kill you. If you are not careful around there, you can die. You'd be electrocuted. So the #1 thing is safety.
Like, you can't touch the hybrid technology itself. As far as servicing the rest of the vehicle, it's basically the same as a normal vehicle. You just have to totally understand it, because there are certain things that can cause you a lot of problem if you don't understand it.
Having said that, basic electrics that they've been taught as mechanics should hold them in good stead.
It's winter in Canada, and I know what to do. I wear this hat. How come Canadian drivers don't know what to do? I'm Howard Elmer, and I'll tell you at motoringtv.com.
So we've got half the technicians, we've got 12 of them in all, half of them doing the mechanical hands-on competition and the other half doing the theoretical competition. They're the backbone of the dealership, right? I mean, if they don't fix stuff, like pretty much you lose the customer. And so it's so important to have good fix-it-right the first time technicians.
You know, one thing about an auto show, it offers you the opportunity to check out every new vehicle for that particular model year. But you might not think it's a good place to buy a car simply because you can't test drive it. Well, Jill McIntosh is a Canadian automotive journalist, and she is convinced that when looking for a new car, the auto show is the place to start.
Absolutely, Brad. When you go to a dealer, you're under a lot of pressure, you're maybe not sure what you should be looking for, you're eager to get behind the wheel, and sometimes you forget to look at some of the things that are really important, like how the seats are, how the controls are, whether or not your family's going to fit inside. This is the place to come and do your homework, because there's no place else you are going to see every car that's on the market under one roof where you can get in the mall and you can do that. Okay, so now we're in the car. Some of the things we're going to look for a comfortable seating position, whether or not we can reach that with the seat, whether or not we have places to put our things, where the coffee cups are, if everything is easy to reach, how simple the controls are, looking around at the visibility. And another thing to remember is that when you finally do go on a test drive, take the car out at night, see what the lighting is like. And now let's talk about the back seat. Watch the roof line on the car. If it comes down really sharply, make sure you can get in without smacking your head. Make sure that there's enough leg room, enough knee room. Make sure that the door opens wide enough so that if you have children or elderly parents, they can get in and they'll do it safely. Don't forget the trunk. It should be big enough to handle anything that you want to bring home. Be careful that it's not too deep so that you can't reach anything that slides in. Watch out for the liftover, how far over you have to reach to put your groceries in. And now that you've done your homework, you're all ready to go to the dealer and do your test drive.
Well, you know, Jill is not the only one to find some opportunity here at the auto show. Someone else who just loves hanging out at these places, that's our man in the garage, Bill Gardner.
Hey, Brad, it wasn't a tough call to make. You know, it's wintertime, all the car shows. So my choices are stay at the shop with the cars dripping salt water and slush on you, or come down here to the auto show. Wasn't a tough call. One of the things I really like about all these car shows is the cutaways, the cutaway vehicles, the cutaway engines, transmissions. It affords people like me a look at the internals of a brand new engine that I'm not going to see in my shop for quite a few years. The car's under warranty, and let's face it, things just don't break and wear out in the first few model years. So you've got a lot of cars on the road before you actually see one inside. We're here at the Chrysler booth looking at their Pentastar 3.6 liter double overhead cam V6. This is a very new engine for them. Fantastic engine. It develops tremendous power and gives fantastic fuel economy in a very compact size. So they're able to replace a lot of their current V6 engines with this one engine. This engine has a couple of interesting design features, and you're going to see it in a lot of their cars. This year it's in the Grand Cherokee, it's going to be in the Town & Country minivan, the Challenger, and very shortly in the Journey SUV and some of the other models as well. This is going to be a real mainstream engine for them. With this cutaway engine, you can see the camshaft phasers that allow for the variable valve timing on this double overhead cam V6. You can see a nice cutaway of the intake manifold runners up here. Thermoplastic makes for a nice, smooth, shiny finish. Lots of airflow into that engine. All the belt-driven accessories on the front of this engine, the alternator, the belt tensioner, this idler, the water pump, the AC compressor, and the power steering, not a single bracket for any one of these belt-driven accessories. What they've done is they've machined mounting pads right on the engine to accommodate all these accessories with not a bracket. Makes for less noise and vibration and a much tidier, better installation in the engine bay. On the side of the cylinder head, here's an interesting feature of the Pentastar. No exhaust manifold. The manifold runners are cast right into the head, and this common collector is where your exhaust pipe will bolt on. No manifold, nothing to break, no gaskets, no bolts. Very simple design. This is a great little engine, and you're going to be seeing this in a lot of vehicles. I've driven it already in the Grand Cherokee, makes fantastic power and fuel economy, and because it's a 60-degree angle between the cylinder banks, it's a very compact engine design, so it fits under the hood. And if you go and look at the Grand Cherokee, you'll see that it's a super easy engine to service. Fits in that engine bay with room to spare, so guys like me have got a lot of room to work, which is going to save you money when that vehicle gets a bit older and it needs those inevitable repairs and servicing. So it's going to save you money down the road. Till next week, I'm Bill Gardner for Motoring 2011.
Probably the best way to describe these two vehicles would be the beauty and the beast. But what they do have in common, they can sure put a smile on your face. And they're sitting out here on the Motoring skid pad, where each week Graham Fletcher thrashes vehicles on test drive. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, wow, we're going to take the 2011 Mercedes SLS and have it go to head with the 2011 SLP Camaro. Well, we did think about that, but then we thought, what's the point? They're apples and oranges, despite the fact that they both have about 600 horsepower. However, Graham will do a test drive on each vehicle on an upcoming show. But first, let's take a little time and meet the beauty and the beast.
It's a purpose-built car from our tuning division, which is AMG in Germany, and it's just a fresh, clean sheet of paper.
SLP originated as street legal performance. We are now called SLP Performance Parts. If it's not performance, it's not SLP.
All aluminum body, transaxle, 7-speed double clutch gearbox. I mean, it's got every innovation you could possibly think of in this car. It's a very well balanced car. It's 563 horsepower, 479 foot-pounds of torque. It's almost perfect weight distribution. We did a video in the Fraser Canyon in BC with an SLS going through the tunnel, actually defying the laws of gravity, and with the 7-time world champion at the wheel, Michael Schumacher, did a fabulous job. It certainly is the pinnacle of our achievements over the last 125 years. It's an eclectic car. It's our halo car, if you will. It's an everyday super sports car.
Our ZL packages, when we're talking supercharger, we're only making 500 yearly. They're numbered cars. The supercharger obviously comes with the TVS Eaton 2300, which is similar to the ZR1 Corvette supercharger. That increases our horsepower stock from GM at 426 horsepower to 592 horsepower. The name 585, it just rolls better from the tongue at 585. That's why we call it our ZL. And our automatic version, which is our ZL 560, that is horsepower. And any combination of coupe or convertible, we will be building superchargers for our customers. It's a total package that brings numbers just recently tested by a major publication of 3.6 seconds, 0-60 miles per hour. So it's a very quick car. The Camaro was our biggest part of our equation. It is by far, it has surpassed sales of our competitor. It is a great year for Camaro. It is a phenomenal car, and we just bring it to the next level.
Make sure you check out motoringtv.com. We've been testing cars for almost a quarter of a century, and you can take a trip down memory lane in the extensive motoring archives. We've got a photo gallery, and of course, the blog dogs, who look at the good, the bad, and the ugly in the automotive industry. And join us on Facebook for the total motoring experience.
I got an email just today from a guy saying, how dare you promote the car industry? He was an environmentalist. Well, first of all, we don't promote the car industry. We report on the car industry. Why? Let me count the ways. Number one, it's our job. Number two, it's by far the most important industry in the entire country, responsible for 1 job in 6. Yeah, there's some challenges with the car industry, environmental safety and whatnot, but I gotta tell you, if you're an environmentalist, you gotta love the car industry. No industry's done more to reduce its impact on the environment than the car business. The plants are cleaner, the cars are so clean that the air coming out the tailpipe is cleaner than the air going in. Now, yes, we can do better. Maybe there should be more rapid transit, but you know, I live 50 kilometers out of town. The subway doesn't come by my house and it's never gonna. Now, maybe you are prepared to ride your bicycle in a Saskatoon February, but guess what? I'm not, and neither are millions of other Canadians. It's a lifestyle that we have chosen. Yes, it is a democracy. Now, if you want to go back to a pre-industrial revolution life, well, marshal your forces and vote it in at the next election. It might be easier if you really want to live in a cave, though, to move to Afghanistan and join the Taliban. Now, back in the 1800s, there was one volcanic eruption that caused winter around the world for 2 years. Well, there's another volcanic eruption happening in that part of the world. It's called China. They are going to industrialize, and most of the energy they have is in the form of soft coal. Now, if they burn their coal the way we burned our coal, what we do over here won't matter a tiny little bit. So if you're really concerned about the environment, don't talk to me about the car industry. Go over and talk to the Chinese. I'm Jim Kenzie.
Press day is winding down here at the Canadian International Auto Show in Toronto, but for the next couple of weeks, this place will be buzzing as the doors open to the public, and it'll be a mixture of dreamers and practical consumers looking to make a car buying decision. You know, Detroit, with the who's who's of the automotive world, it's still my favorite auto show. However, this show in Toronto and many more like it across the country are first class, and they're giving Canadians a chance to celebrate the automobile. Before we go, make sure you check out motoringtv.com. We've got 24 years of archives. We got the good old blog dogs, and of course, join us on Facebook for the total motoring experience. That's it for now. We'll see you next time out as we continue to bring you more stories about cars and the people who drive them.
The question is now that given that it's adopted the wide-bodied stance, more aggressive wheel and tyre package, retuned suspension, and of course more powerful engine, which has been carried over, how is the STI going to remain a halo car?
Motoring 2011 on TSN has been brought to you by Michelin, a better way forward.